Hi, this is Dr. Z, also known as Dr. Z Gross. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and the Greater Therapist Vibes whole life coach. I also teach, trauma-informed yoga, but these are things that I do because I truly enjoy what yoga has brought to my life. So every once in a while, I may sprinkle a little bit of that in there. But I wanted to jump on here today and just really talk about what the process looks like behind transitioning from having a mindset that affords you the opportunity to recognize when you have exceeded certain levels of trauma that have placed you in a position where you're still showing up as an employee who's trying to do the best that you possibly can. And this can be in any field, in any type of job. But specifically, I'm relating to my experiences and that of the people that I've worked with in the different arenas that I've been in. So I've worked as like a one-to-one aide for children that are on the spectrum, have other health related, or I don't even recall all the specific acronyms and letters, but I've been in the field of helping people for a very long time after transitioning out of the military, and had the opportunity to work in the classrooms at, public schools as aides, in special education classes, and also at non-public day schools where children have the opportunity to learn in a different type of environment. With that being said, I've also had the chance to supervise really awesome therapists that were coming into the field fresh and just wanting to help people and believing finally I get to help my people and our community be really great. With that being said, some of those communities were, pretty intense. So working in intensive fields, supervising new therapists that are coming into a whole entire way of doing therapy after being fresh from school and getting all the stuff in the books, taking the preliminary tests to say you can or can't do therapy, and then coming into the real world and learning quite a few things. One, everything they said in the books is not geared towards the population that probably will best benefit from using the services and that have access to the services in community mental health agencies. Two, unfortunately, most supervisors at a certain point in time get so stressed out and overwhelmed with trying to make sure the documentation and numbers look right that they forget to offer and provide a level of supervision that would afford a new clinician the opportunity to really grow and hone in on their skills and start to identify the fact that, three, you don't need to work with everyone as a therapist, and you really do need to find that field of people that you enjoy helping, you're really skilled at connecting with, to be able to break down some of those negative barriers that have come up from, unfortunately, stereotypes about therapists, past bad experiences with therapists, and that overarching assumption that a therapist is related to some of the work that a social worker might do, in that they have a requirement to protect children, which may mean sometimes children do get removed from homes when there is an additional need for support and care to be provided. Sharing all of that, what I wanted to bring the attention to today is looking at the trauma that those types of work environments can cause. And I know I've got some peers out here in the field that talk about trauma specifically in the workforce and how it has impacted predominantly women of color in our field of mental health, and collectively how it keeps showing up and keeps happening. And I wish I could say it was going to stop, but it doesn't until people start recognizing there's more options available. So knowing that you don't have to go to school and can only work at a community mental health agency or for the county to make a lot of money, there are other avenues, ways, and means to do that. And it helps to be exposed to people that are aware of it. And on the reverse side, private practice isn't the only way. There's group practices, there's partnerships, there's just so many different things you can do in the helping field. But if no one tells you about it, you do what you've been told. Go to school, get good grades, take out a bunch of loans, incur a bunch of debt, go ahead and get licensed, take whatever job you can come across immediately, and for the rest of your life, probably be in a perpetual state of never having enough to actually take care of yourself while also actively engaging in taking care of other people. I hope hearing those words evokes a certain level of trauma and like, cringe for you, because that is super cringy. You, the professional who went to school, gets out in the field, starts doing the work, believes you have to stay at a job, and then you find yourself enduring a certain level of workplace trauma, trauma in the field of the vicarious trauma that you carry for your clients because you care so much. And then whatever family and history that you have, you bring all of that in every single day when you wake up. And unless you're able to find a great therapist of your own, good people in your community, and a bunch of other great things, you start holding and carrying that physically in your body. So what that can easily look like is now you're holding trauma in your body that's yours, your communities, your peers, your family, and every other place that you've gone to that you picked up, held it, not released it, and now it's starting to manifest in your body. At some point, I hope you get into a place as providers of care, whether you're a therapist, a behavioral specialist, parent, partner, but someone that's providing support in the mental health field, that you start looking at alternative and additional, I won't even say alternative, additional means of taking care of other people that you will also immediately start reflecting on and relating it back to yourself. Around 2015, I finally opened myself up to the opportunity of starting to look into alternative means of healing, and just stuff such as getting in touch with myself as a woman. Just not even on some other stuff, but just how do I be the best version of me? Hence, greater goddess vibes is a thing. And what it taught me and opened me up to was there's other types of healing modalities like Reiki healing, crystal, sound healing, all these great things that work really well in conjunction to what I've been traditionally taught as a marriage and family therapist. Learning those things brought me to a space of starting to recognize that there is this thing called chakras. And when I look at chakras and I started to learn more about them and learn more about how different colors, foods, places in my body, how all of these things were connected together, it started to become more apparent to me how a lot of the diagnoses that we work with are directly related to different traumas that have occurred in our bodies, some in more higher intensities and some in lesser. With that being said, the more comfortable you can get with recognizing, even just entertaining the idea of chakras and noticing them as balls of maybe energy or discs that are spinning, that when they get blocked, they start to back up and hold other areas from being able to flow freely. I can tell you more about chakras specifically in like other publications, but I just want to introduce you to the idea that while having these different balls of energy getting blocked and stuck, they create traumas that get stored in our body. Once those traumas are stored in our bodies, we start manifesting them and become completely eligible for diagnosis in the DSM. I want to help people start to recognize those more frequently, and how much our mind and our body are totally connected to the experience of who we are as a self. Hence, Greater Self LLC, the whole premise behind it was finding that mind, body, self connection, and then really reclaiming that amazing version of us that happened before we took on tons of backpacks of trauma and kept carrying it around and not processing it. So today, the challenge is look at and check out, what do you notice happening in your body? Does it happen all the time? Are you just so used to it that you didn't even realize that this isn't even a thing? And if you have the opportunity, would you take the time to give yourself permission to explore what's happening in your body and what it is telling you about your mind, and some things that maybe you're storing and holding on to that you're scared to release, that this may be a good time to reach out to someone else to support you with. And if you're a therapist, it may be your own therapist. It may be just taking some educational training on what trauma in the body looks like so you can better identify it and maybe even incorporate it into your practice. With that being said, always feel free to check out what I've got going on and what things are being offered, such as my Chakras and Trauma workshop, which is a parallel process for therapists to be able to identify where trauma is stored in the body and different ways that it connects to diagnosis that you're working with. Whether you're just joining in now or you've come in years after the fact, if there aren't live courses, by all means, feel free to check out some of the recorded ones that will be available. You can always stay up to date with what's happening by going to www.greaterself.org/hello. And on that page, you'll always be able to see what we've got coming up next and access the things that are already available. Well, I look forward to talking to you later, and thanks for hanging in there. Again, this is Dr. Z Gross, also known as Dr. Z of Greater Self LLC and Dr. Z Gross Family Counseling Incorporated.